Hi, my name's Eric Stover, and today I want to talk to you a little about why it's important for us as college students and everyday citizens to volunteer our time at a great organization called the Habitat for Humanity. So picture this. You're a single parent with 3 kids in elementary school. Your budget's limited, but you've been able to afford a government subsidized single bedroom apartment in a bad part of town. You don't feel comfortable letting your kids go out and play because the neighborhood's not that safe. But the space inside the apartment is pretty small. Your kids don't have their own space to go do their homework or to play, and you don't have your own space to unwind after a long day. It's obviously not the greatest place to raise a family. You know, the best thing for your family sounds like a wish, honestly. It'd be a new house, built big enough for everyone to have their own space in a quiet part of town. This is exactly what Habitat for Humanity does for people. It's not magic, though. Habitat for Humanity only exists because of the number of volunteers and the number of donations that it takes in every year. Unfortunately, the number of people in need far outweigh the number of people and donations Habitat for Humanity can take in. So we have a big problem in the United States, and that is poverty and homelessness. There's nearly 50 million people today that are considered in poverty, and nearly 20 million of those people are spending more than half of their monthly income on rent, mortgage, or any other living situation. And these people, these 20 million people, they struggle with things like instability, where they're going to be living next week or next month. They deal with threats of eviction. They deal with poor living conditions, and even homelessness. So when you think about the proportion of income that they're spending on rent or whatever, and the amount of money that they have left at the end of the month, there's not much left for things like food and doctor's visits and preventative maintenance for their home or preventative maintenance for their vehicle or really anything else. And in the recent past, the government has set up programs to help these struggling families. However, with the housing crisis back in 2008, 2009 that we experienced, these programs were overutilized. The government couldn't help all the people that were in need. So there was a shortfall, and there was lots of people that were in need that weren't getting help. So as I mentioned before, the U.S. government developed some programs to help families find stable housing. Nearly 5 million people received this aid, but as I mentioned before, there was about 20 million people that were spending over half of their monthly income on housing accommodations. So these programs only reached a quarter of people in need. Anyway, so the U.S. government kind of drew up 2 different programs. The first was a FHA loan program. The second was called Section 8 housing program. The FHA loans weren't a complete failure, but they weren't ideal for low-income families because they did have a high interest rate, and they also did make qualifying families pay mortgage insurance, which only raised the monthly payment the family would be paying. The down payment on these loans was attractive because it was only 3.5% of the prospective house that the family would be buying. So that's much lower than your traditional 20% down loan, but the interest rate was much higher than your traditional 30-year loan, and obviously the mortgage insurance was an added cost. The other program, the Section 8 housing program, was a program that, again, didn't fail, but it wasn't ideal for all parties involved. The Section 8 housing moved low-income families into different neighborhoods and spread the folks that were in poverty out. So you really kind of destabilize neighborhoods rather than revitalizing the neighborhoods that these people were already living in. And also these apartments, these Section 8 apartments that were built with very low quality, and many of them often failed inspections. And if they failed inspections, they lost their federal funding. So they went from being in a government subsidized type situation to a normal apartment building. So let's go back to that family that I mentioned in the introduction. Maybe they were one of the 15 million families that the federal government couldn't help. It could be my family, could be your family, could be anyone's family. Regardless, all this family needed is a break. They needed someone to help them. And this is where Habitat for Humanity and its volunteers come in.
My biggest concern was my daughter's safety.
I wasn't gonna invite people over when I saw what their homes look like.
I didn't know where I was gonna go, what I was gonna do.
We're in darkness, but there's always a little bit of light, and if people help, the light becomes greater.
Just walking into that house was the beginning of a different life.
Because of this house, I'm home.
Like I mentioned before, the Habitat for Humanity doesn't exist without volunteers. They need volunteers to help build houses. They need volunteers to help coordinate fundraising events. They need volunteers to help select families that they're going to build houses for. They need volunteers to help coordinate volunteers. So there's lots of roles that you can fill by volunteering with the Habitat for Humanity. The simplest and most common volunteer is someone that's helping build the home. So you can have as little or as much experience with carpentry or general construction. They'll put you to good use. I spoke with Mark Ohashi from the Wood County Habitat for Humanity. He said, if you want to get involved with the build, all you need to do is send an email to volunteer@wchabitat.org, and they'll get you set up. Someone will be in contact with you before the next build starts. So you've helped Habitat for Humanity build a house, but they're in between houses or it's winter and you still want to be involved. Mark Ohashi mentioned that local branches of Habitat for Humanity have quite a bit of overlap in their committees. A lot of people in one committee are members of 2 or 3 other committees, so they're always looking for volunteers to fill seats on committees. Typical committees include resource development, which is, you would go out and speak with businesses to build donation bases. You would go out and speak with businesses to help build volunteer bases. You'd also go out and organize and coordinate fundraising events. So that would be an interesting opportunity for a lot of people. Another committee is the construction committee. So they would research lots within the city to build homes on. They would work with local city planning to ensure that when the build does start, there's no issues with the build. And then also they would plan the build schedule. So, they would make sure that as the building progresses, it's on schedule. There's also a family selection committee. So this committee basically takes a pool of families that have applied for a house and works with them while going through the process. So making sure that the application is filled out and all the details are complete before they move on to the final selection. This committee also forwards a selection of 5 or so families to the local board of directors that would have the final say of which family they're going to build the house for. And the last committee that really exists is the volunteer committee. And the volunteer committee basically screens the emails coming in from volunteer at wchabitat.org and collects that information and then contacts the potential volunteer and arranges for the volunteers to arrive at the job site when needed. Volunteer committee members also arrange for food and beverages to be delivered to the job site while the build is happening. Even if you only have a few hours a month to volunteer, you can still get involved with your local Habitat for Humanity. Mark Ohashi, Executive Director of the Wood County Habitat for Humanity, suggested that if you can, volunteer to help out at your local chapter's office, or if they have a restore, which is their retail outlets, volunteer at their restores. Actually, when I was in the office with Mark, he had a group of volunteers that was assembling holiday mailers as a reminder to attend a Habitat for Humanity fundraising event. He also stated that keeping their website, hchabitat.org, and their social media presence updated has been difficult. He'd not thought about having a tech-savvy volunteer help manage this for them, but he said he'd certainly be open, if the right person were to volunteer. And as I said, many Habitat for Humanity local chapters have a restore, which is a retail outlet for Habitat for Humanity. They sell new and used building materials at discounted prices. And the proceeds of this retail outlet go to help offset building costs when they build a Habitat home. The store is always looking for volunteers to help pick up or drop off donations. They always need help in the store helping customers pick products or answering telephones or just general things like cleaning. So you've nailed 2x4s, you've installed insulation, you've licked envelopes, you've coordinated volunteers, you've built a house, and you've impacted someone's life in a huge way. You've done a lot of things for other people. But one thing that we really haven't talked about is, what are you getting from this experience? I think you're getting some really great things, actually. The first is you're developing a number of transferable skills. You're becoming a leader. You're leading a group of volunteers. You could be leading a group of volunteers to coordinate a fundraising event. You're developing problem-solving skills by tackling, unforeseen problems that occur at a job site. You're developing communication skills by working with other volunteers and making sure that what you're building is, solid and according to plan. You're developing teamwork skills by working with other volunteers to build a house. I mean, that's huge. So I think these are really great skills to take with you that will help you in your career. You're also networking with other people when you volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. So you'll meet tons of new people on a job site if you help Habitat for Humanity build a house. They're not necessarily in the construction field. They could be in the manufacturing business, engineering, medical. They could be from just about anywhere, and they could help you get your foot in the door when you're ready to look for your job. And also, board members for Habitat for Humanity come from local businesses. For example, the Wood County Habitat for Humanity has board members from ProMedica. They have board members from Fifth Third and also Owens Corning. So that's another great way to meet people that could be potential employers for you in the future. And also meeting people while you're volunteering for Habitat for Humanity can make for a great reference on a resume. So you do have someone to vouch for your skills and experience when you're looking for a job. And also, I think in general, volunteering for Habitat for Humanity will help you become a more well-rounded person. Often we get tied up in what we do. As a computer science person, I get tied up in working with computers. But volunteering for Habitat for Humanity would help me understand my home and understand how homes are built and how plumbing works and all this really great stuff that I don't have exposure to now. So it will really help you become a more well-rounded individual. So to kind of wrap things up, remember that Habitat for Humanity relies solely on its volunteers and its donations. They're not a government program. They don't rely on tax dollars. It relies on people that are willing to help other people. The millennials are known for a lot of things. The one thing that I'm most proud of is that we're known as a humanitarian generation. We're willing to go out of our way to help our neighbor out because we know that one day that could be us. Remember that there's millions of people in the United States that are struggling to find stable housing. The government has programs to help these people out, but yet a large percentage are still in need. Habitat for Humanity exists for this reason. Habitat for Humanity changes lives by building affordable homes for low-income families. It doesn't happen by magic, though. They rely heavily and solely on their volunteers. So let's become one of those 9,000 plus student volunteers and put a green dot over the University of Toledo. By volunteering at your local Habitat for Humanity, you can change the lives of people in your community while developing yourself. If you want to volunteer, check out wchabitat.org. You can send an email to volunteer@wchabitat.org, or you can call 419-353-5430, or you can stop by the Wood County Habitat for Humanity at 200 North Summit Street, Bowling Green, Ohio. Thank you.